Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Today is Monday, November 17th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Well, 100 people get caught in North Carolina's Charlotte Web ICE operation. The sheriff there, Garry McFadden, will join us to talk about these aggressive raids sweeping throughout his county. Catholic bishops join Pope Leo's criticism of Donald Trump's indiscriminate ICE raids. It's interesting how MAGA now is mad at the Catholics, but they love the Catholics and their position on abortion. A black Texas mother says medical staff ignored her so long that she ended up giving birth in a hospital waiting room. It's all on video. We'll be joined by civil rights attorney Lee Merritt. Philadelphia is stopping the use of some diversity targets in city contracts as national DEI backlash continues. Pharrell Williams makes some comments about his dislike for politics, saying it's a magic trick, but when your relative was killed, didn't you want politics involved in that? Got it. Donald Trump, all of a sudden, Donald Trump is embracing white nationalists and racist and anti-Semite Nick Fuentes, and it's causing massive problems on the right. The Heritage Foundation is in disarray as more resignations result from that. Also, I got a couple of things to say about some arrogant Democrats running for re-election who, in one case, they rigged the game for the chief of staff to run, and in the other, a really arrogant statement from Congressman Steve Cohen of Memphis. I'll explain. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, folks, ICE and Border Patrol's Charlotte's Web operation resulted in more than 100 arrests of people during the first 2 days of sweeping federal immigration raids. Now, here's the deal. Donald Trump has sent his law enforcement thugs into Mecklenburg County. Why? Because he wants to run what he calls blue cities. Some of those detained claim they are here legally. Having federal agents conduct raids not only disrupted the lives of those taken into custody, but also affected the lives and businesses of people across the city. Local officials made it clear the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police and the mayor's office do not support these tactics and were not involved. Governor Josh Stein dropped this video with regards to what is happening in his state. Do we have the video of the governor? All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up myself. So folks need to understand, we've seen this happen in Los Angeles. We've seen this happen in Chicago, Memphis, where Donald Trump wants to pretty much tell these cities and states what to do. Now, keep in mind, he had the approval of the governor of Tennessee, Republican. Josh Stein, North Carolina, is a Democrat. Listen.
Josh Stein. I wanted to provide an update as Customs and Border Patrol agents have been in Charlotte over the weekend. My team and I have been in regular contact with state and local law enforcement to ensure that they have the resources that they need to keep you safe. Public safety is our top priority, and our well-trained local officers know their communities and are here for the long haul. On Friday, before Customs and Border Protection came to Charlotte, I encouraged North Carolinians to follow the law, remain peaceful, and bear witness to what you're seeing. Thank you, Charlotte, for answering that call. To the CBP, if you know that we have violent criminals in Charlotte who are undocumented, we want them out too. Everyone wants to be safe in their communities. But the actions of too many federal agents are doing the exact opposite in Charlotte. We've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars, targeting American citizens based on their skin color, racially profiling and picking up random people in parking lots and off of our sidewalks, going after landscapers simply decorating a Christmas tree in someone's front yard, and entering churches and stores to grab people. This is not making us safer. It's stoking fear and dividing our community. I want to say a word about immigration. We are a nation of immigrants, and our state and this country is stronger because of our immigrant communities. Unfortunately, our immigration system is broken. But rather than fix it, the federal government continues to play politics with it. It is long past time for Congress to act. We need strong borders. We must hold accountable and deport anyone who has committed a serious crime. And we must create a path to legal status for those who've been here a long time, paid their taxes, and followed the law, especially our dreamers who came to this country as very young children. North Carolina, I know this is a stressful moment, but please stay peaceful. And if you see something wrong, record it and report it to local law enforcement. That's what we can do for our neighbors to keep each other safe. That's the North Carolina way. Thank you.
All right, folks, joining us right now is Mecklenburg County Sheriff Garry McFadden. Sheriff, glad to have you here. Let's just be real clear here. Republicans, in this case, MAGA, Donald Trump, they love talking about local control, big government. But they don't give a damn about local control when they are not the ones who are in charge. And this is a direct assault on you were elected by the people of the county. And so they chose you for how you want to conduct law enforcement, pure and simple.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for having me, my brother. I just talked to the two other African-American sheriffs, the two other black sheriffs that they will be targeting later on. Everyone should know, in 2018, North Carolina saw something that they've never seen before. 8 black Democratic sheriffs took over every major city in North Carolina. So let's be clear. They will target us, and they will continue to target us until our people who become unafraid and talk about what is happening with this country. And that's the problem. We're not standing up and saying this will not happen in our city, this will not happen in our nation. And until that happens, we're going to continue to see this. And I think that we were talking about this months or weeks or years ago. And to us, it's not a surprise. Not a bit.
And let's be clear here. You are not against arresting violent criminals.
Absolutely not.
The problem here is when you have individuals who have shown their credentials, who've shown their documents. And then when you have, first of all, let's be real clear. We don't even know if these people are actually federal law enforcement. We don't know if they're Proud Boys. We don't know if they're Oath Keepers. We have their faces are covered. You have no names. You have no badge numbers. So we actually do not know if these individuals are actually federally approved, hired, trained law enforcement.
You're absolutely correct. And that's the problem. But nobody, when I say it, I say, well, come and have a conversation with me. Let me know that you're in my city, my county. Show me your credentials, and then you can move forward. But we have to understand this. Immigration under what they're doing now is civil. It's not criminal. It's civil. But they use what we call, or I call, the word salad to confuse you. So what they're doing now is simply questioning people on the street, and they're nervous because once you start circling these individuals, they get nervous. They pull out their ID, and it may say Honduras. And at that point, they're going to say, are you an American citizen? With slight intimidation, then they take them in detention or custody, but it is not under the criminal guidelines of immigration. It is under the civil lines of immigration.
Well, we've seen in New York and Los Angeles, them in the hallways, snatching people, dragging them away, threatening family members, knocking them to the ground, being extremely aggressive because Donald Trump has said to them, you can be as big of a thug as you want. You can do whatever you want. And don't worry, I got your back. He has given them the right to abuse individuals.
You're right. If you see the videos, one example is the video that you have in the red truck. If you see the gentleman in the red truck, that is probably a national video that's going around. That young man in the red truck was already arrested or detained by ICE. And some process, they found out that he was a citizen. And so they allowed him to leave and go about his business.
So this video right here. This video right here. First of all, they bust his window out. All right, they bust his window out. Now keep going.
Well, let me back up. See, this is his second confrontation with ICE within a few minutes. So imagine this. You have already been detained or arrested, and ICE finally finds out that you are a legal resident of Mecklenburg County, so you walk back to your red truck. When you get back to your red truck, another group of Custom and Border Patrol confront you, bust out your window, and then drag you out. But think about this. That person was never arrested for anything. Now, who pays for his window?
Right. In fact, I saw this one story where a business owner had a bakery. He shut it down and now is carrying around his U.S. passport because they are stopping people on the street. Do you speak English? Do you speak Spanish? I mean, what is happening right now, and there's some people who are watching, there's some black people who are watching, who are virally anti-immigrant. And what they're saying is, well, guess what? We don't know, throw those folks out. But they are stopping U.S. citizens. They are demanding your papers. What they are doing in Charlotte and Chicago, we saw it in L.A., with the approval of this arrogant white right Supreme Court, they are doing the exact same thing that the racists in South Africa did during apartheid by forcing black South Africans to carry their papers around, and they could demand their papers. Not just cops, but anybody white in South Africa could demand their papers to see, oh, are you here? And not only these ICE folks who we don't know of law enforcement, you got regular, ordinary folks, white folks walking around saying, show me your papers. And you don't show them to me, I'm calling ICE on you.
Well, I don't think you have to go back to South Africa. It hasn't been that long that we were walking in America, and if you were on a dirt road back in what we call the Jim Crow or back further, you had to have your papers. And the bakery is a prime example, and the reason that they target that bakery is because that is my first stop after being elected at Matoldo's Bakery. No, so we're not hiding these things. We know why we're being targeted, and we know why certain people are being targeted. But until we stop being afraid and speak out, it is going to continue.
I saw the police chief of Broadview, Illinois. Same thing, black man. They were so arrogant, they, just as you said, they wouldn't even talk to him. They wouldn't even consult with him. Then they said they were overtaxing local police by demanding that they do certain things. And so that was a video of a Department of Homeland Security ICE Barbie, Christy Nome, going to a Broadview city building to use the restroom. They said, no, you're not coming in. And they had an attitude about it. Well, I was with them. If you're so arrogant that you can't even come talk to local law enforcement, and we know how this works, the way it's supposed to work is, it's called law enforcement respect. That is, if you're the feds, when you come into a county, talk to the sheriff. When you come into a city, you talk to the police chief. If you go into a building, you say, who's the head of security? And you have a cordial conversation. No, because of the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man in chief Donald Trump, ICE, the whole deal is they say, screw you, Sheriff McFadden. Screw you, chief of police. Screw all of you. We can do whatever we want, when we want it, and y'all should shut up and stand down and back up because we don't care what you think. That is literally their attitude.
That is the attitude. We had a better relationship. Let me divide the two. ICE sat down with me on October 17th, and so we have a better communication. The simple thing I said was to have Border Patrol come and talk to me also to say that we're here, because here's what's going to happen. And I'm hoping it didn't happen so far. Somebody's going to get in a confrontation, and my deputies may arrive on the scene, and we're going to have that same analogy. I asked him to show me his hands, and he didn't. Imagine if one of my deputies shoot and kills one of these people, and they just so happen to be a federal agent. We don't know that. They're in jeans, they're in T-shirts, and as you say, nobody has vetted them out. They're just here. Nobody's seen their faces, so it is a very volatile situation.
I want to make a point again and again for people who don't understand how things happen. If the feds are going to conduct a raid, a targeted raid, normally what they do, and just tell me if I'm wrong, they come to you, Sheriff, this is what our plan is. These are the folks we're targeting. This is the day, this is the time, this is the type of support we would appreciate from you and your deputy sheriffs. That could mean blocking traffic, holding people off. It could mean serving as support personnel in any way. There are different ways this is done. That's not what's happening here. They are literally roaming the streets of Charlotte, stopping at any given point, no plan of action, nothing, and it's kind of like, oh, they look Mexican, they look Venezuelan, we're going to walk up to them and accost them.
You're exactly right. And the plan is this. Here's what I said, and I know that people are going to laugh when I say this. If you want to do an operation, I probably got 500 outstanding warrants in my warrant repository. So stay 2 more days, and let's go out and find the violent criminals that a judge has signed a warrant for their arrest, and we'll go and find them. Then you can say that we came and did a project and you made a city safe. But you have to understand, this is a civil process, so all that they're doing is using a profile tactic to speak to these people, and after they're talking to them, they get nervous, they pull out their ID, and they say, yes, I'm from Honduras. And what? Then they take them off, but it is a civil process and not a criminal process.
Here's a video, this is from FNTV, of ICE agents chasing a flower shop owner into the woods, and it was bystanders who shamed them and caused them to step away. This is unbelievable. Yeah, pull it up. Come on, guys. Again, they sit here and chase this guy into the woods. There was another, I think it was on MSNBC. Let's see here. And again, they love talking about. You know, what say. Here is this Commander Bovino. He talked about how an individual assaulted federal officers, but a federal judge in Chicago called the Border Patrol out and said they lied to the federal courts about the actions. In Chicago, we saw the videos of them rappelling down buildings, having young black kids tied up outside the building at 3 o'clock in the morning. 700 people arrested. We now know not a single person was charged. Sheriff, to be honest with you, to me, what this is nothing but a television show to Donald Trump. This is all about theatrics. This is damn the law, damn anything else. We want to create this impression that we are targeting these violent people. It's a television show. That's what we're seeing right now.
Well, it absolutely is, because 130 people. I know somebody thought it was 80 to 90. Well, as of the day, it's 130 people. Out of that 130 people, no one has come to the Mecklenburg County Detention Center being arrested. So these people are taken to a process area and then taken on to wherever ICE drops them off. But if you want to know how many people were prosecuted out of the 130 people that were arrested in the last 3 days, you should ask them, how many people have been prosecuted? This is a civil process. that is going to continue. So it's a numbers game.
Unbelievable. Sheriff McFadden, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, my pal, Dr. Ome Congo, being a senior professor at Lecture School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racism out of D.C. Dr. Avis Jones-Weaver, author of How Exceptional Black Women Lead, Unlocking the Secrets to Creating Phenomenal Success in Career and in Life. Co-founder, editor-in-chief, Max Black Media and National Harbor. Mateo, the Justice Guy, legal and political analyst. Glad to have all three of you here. Mateo, I'll start with you. Thuggish behavior, pure and simple. And it has been blessed, it has been sanctioned, it has been ordained by Donald Trump, by the Republican Party. They do not care. They don't care about due process. They don't care about rule of law. They have no problem blowing up boats in international water, claiming they're drug dealers, and saying, oh, guess what? We're gonna be judge, jury, and we're gonna give them the death penalty. Now what we're seeing is them accosting anybody. If you look Latino, if you sound Latino, or it doesn't even matter. In fact, Mateo, look, if they look at you, they look at me, these so-called ICE agents could say, oh, show me your papers. Show me your ID. Are you an American? That's what's going on here.
For sure, it is what's happening. We've seen it in Los Angeles. We've seen it in Chicago. Now, unsurprisingly, we see it in Charlotte. And what you're saying, that profiling is not just bad for the obvious reasons, but because it's bad because it's a distorted interpretation of an already bad Supreme Court decision that talks about that back in September talked about the totality of circumstances that allows ICE agents to pretty much do whatever they want. And from there, they've expanded their tactics to fully, not just borderline, but fully unconstitutional. In Charlotte, the people, the ICE agents walking into somebody's front yard, no judicial warrant, probably no warrant at all. The fact that they're asking people, are you a citizen? Yes, law allows them to ask somebody if they are a citizen, but without reasonable suspicion, there is no obligation for that person to talk, and yet they do it. They push, they press, and if you don't answer, they will detain you. That's not just illegal, that's unconstitutional. And yet they're allowed to do it by the federal government that has said, here's a badge, here's a gun, here's a mask, because apparently they can't even show their face, go out and arrest people. And I'm going to push back on something that you just said, that you think this is just a TV show or some spectacle for Donald Trump's benefit. I wish it were. I think it is part and parcel with what Project 2025 wanted to do. It is a play-by-play act out of the blueprint of Project 2025, which has much more ominous objectives than just entertaining Donald Trump.
Well,
that I think is
the reason I say TV show is because, first of all, we know for a fact that he picks cabinet officers based upon looks, how they look and sound on television. The other thing is that the lie was, we're going after violent criminals, but they're not. So what he wants to do is, he wants to be able to, when I say it's a TV show, show his supporters, see, I'm being tough. We're dealing with this problem. But when you look at the actual stats, Biden, White House, deported more people. They arrested more people, but they didn't turn it into a video spectacle. You have the Department of Homeland Security. They travel with more videographers than I do. So their whole deal is, we're going to create, that video they put up of them rappelling down the building. They put together a Hollywood-style video to show how we're being tough. So that's what I mean by television show, and they're trying to drop. Listen, Kristi Noem, we now know, she rewarded a dear friend with there's a $200 million taxpayer dollars. I'm going to bring Avis into this. $200 million. They put together an ad campaign, and they're running commercials everywhere, largely on Fox News and on right-wing networks, which means they're funding those networks, okay, and running these ads about join DHS and Donald Trump is being tough, immigration. Avis, what we are seeing corruption, we're seeing illegal activity, we're seeing racist activity, And this is absolutely, to Mateo's point, what Project 2025 wants, because what they want a white America.
Absolutely. It's all of the above. I mean, what we're seeing right now is complete, just outrageous actions that are meant to terrorize Black and brown cities, specifically targeting Democratic cities and largely disproportionately cities run by Black leadership, and specifically having all of these outrageous actions that are the most outlandish examples of racial profiling, violence inherent in this. And I do wonder, of the 1,000+ criminals that this man let out of jail the very first day he was put back into office, I wonder how many of them are wearing those masks. I really wonder how many of them are wearing those masks. As to your point, I wonder how many of them are Proud Boys or white supremacists of some other sort. And we also know, at least I believe, this is also about priming this nation to a point where people are feeling like having this illegal force, this military presence in our cities becomes normalized. It's about priming our nation to believe that that's just how it should be. It's about priming us to acquiesce to this level of oppression. But I have news for Donald Trump. As you showed in that package just now, people are fighting back. People aren't just going to roll over and say, okay, and wave some little white flag. The individuals in these cities are seeing what's happened here as something that is outrageous, and they themselves are pushing back accordingly.
I'm in Congo. I'm looking at this here. This is a tweet. An off-duty ICE agent, go to my iPad, Anthony, threatened a random Hispanic teenager with a gun as he was driving. He pulled him from the vehicle and started to demand that he prove he was here legally. The ICE agent was arrested for assault, pretty much the same assaults we're seeing every day. That's one particular tweet. Then there was another tweet. U.S. citizen Maria Greeley, a Latina who was adopted, was walking home from work downtown when masked agents zip-tied her. They said she, quote, doesn't look like a Greeley. This is the Chicago Tribune. This is how the government treats people under current deportation policies. This is Trump's America. This is MAGA GOP America. This is what these people support, and their supporters on social media say, this is exactly what I voted for.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, you have Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh saying that, yeah, people just walk up to you if they ask and you just say that you're American, they'll let you go. That's why people are calling these things, Kavanaugh stops. And I want to add to something that was said by you earlier as well, and by this as well, that about not knowing who these people are. Well, NBC reported way back in August that many of these guys did not pass the criminal background checks. Many of them have failed drug tests. And many of them couldn't pass the physical fitness test. And many of these people were still hired. So the fact that these guys could be Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, that's not something that's a pie in the sky belief, because we don't know what these people are, but they're not passing the exams. Now, going to this point of you don't look like a Greeley, the fact of the matter is we had a situation in Massachusetts where a white person who wasn't even an American called ICE on Latinos who were working at a car shop or a car wash and got them arrested. So you're absolutely right. This idea, this mindset that they can just weaponize skin color in any way, shape, or form, they're all buying into it. It's not just ICE. It's not just Border Patrol. It's not this Trump citizen. People in this country who aren't even citizens are feeling deputized. And let's add one more other point to the fact. When you throw Border Patrol in here, Border Patrol's supposed to operate like 100 miles or less from the border. This is Charlotte. Ain't no border that they could talk about. And so when the guy from MS Now contacted them about it, they said, well, there's an airport there. And they're using that as and if that's going to be the case, that means they can go into any city that they want. So the hustle is real, the racism is real, but like Ava said, the fight is real, and we got to keep reporting it, keep speaking up, and keep fighting back. And I think it's just cowardly that they're also just going to Charlotte because Chicago's too cold for them right now.
Mateo, we have a phrase here we use, hashtag we tried to tell you. And it's a bunch of Latinos in America who need to be listening to that. CNN talked about Trump's approval ratings being down. He's negative 30 points with Latinos. And I'm sitting here going, matter of fact, I think MSNBC did an interview with one guy, I saw it earlier, who voted for Trump, and now he's angry and upset because he's being accosted because he's Latino. Mateo, here's my problem. They told everyone this is what they were going to do. And the problem is, a bunch of Latinos in America said, oh no, wait a minute. But they said those people were going to be targeted. And so you've got husbands and wives and children and cousins and others, how they all are being, some people being deported, sent back. Go ahead and pull the graphic up. All these things are happening right here. This is a graphic showing you right here. Latino approval for Trump has dropped 41% to 20%, 21-point decline, the biggest amongst racial ethnic groups. 54% of Latinos focused on the economy and cost of living. 81% rate economic conditions as poor. 75% say Trump's policies worsen the economy. That's going to CNN. Well, Mateo, it's not like Trump didn't say this is what he was going to do. They didn't believe him. Black people did, but they didn't believe him.
You know, I think it's incredible that it's not farther down.
Right.
Trump said after the worst of the worst, and everybody told him that wasn't going to be the case, and Latinos are now suffering the consequences from it. Those that voted for him, those that didn't vote for him, everybody is in the net. But it's the same thing, by the way, that happened to people that were federal workers who said, I'm going to vote for Trump because of this, and then they suffer the consequences, and now, oh, I wasted my vote. So, yes, we can look at Latinos, and we can look at this, thuggish government. But I would urge everybody, the point is to you, I would urge them to zoom out and say that today it's the Latinos that have been lied to, that have believed the government that should not have been believed, and have been lied to and now are suffering the consequences. Today it's them. Tomorrow it could be anybody else. I consider myself unduly privileged, but I also know that I am one of the people that could follow in the net at any time in the future, and that is why it is vitally important to, number one, stay informed and understand your rights, and number two, speak up.
I sit here, Avis, and I literally go, we told y'all. Like, what the hell you think? Y'all fell for the okie doke. Y'all, it's like he sat there and, oh no, he loves the flag, he's against abortion, and oh, he's our guy. I mean, remember the folks, the dude with, I think he's out of Houston. Was it Houston? He had the Trump burger. I think it was out of Houston. Yeah, he had the place called Trump Burger. That's right. Here it is right here. He had Trump Burger in H-Town. Well, they ain't hiring because that sucker's closed. They trying to deport his ass. I bet he ain't supporting Trump now.
Wow.
Avis? Avis, you're on mute. Y'all got to keep y'all mic on. Oh, Lord, now she got to put her glasses on to see the mute button. Okay, guys, what's going on? Why is Avis on mute? Avis is on you. Avis, you're not muted here. Avis is on you. All right, let me go to Ome Congo while Avis figure out her computer. Ome Congo, go ahead. I mean, I bet that Trump burger dude, I bet he reconsidering his support now.
Yeah, I would think so. Or shoot, at least I hope so. I've seen some stories where some of these guys are like, yeah, my wife's in detention right now, is about to be deported, but I still believe he's going to come around. I mean, the level of delusion with some of these folks is absolutely ridiculous. And as Mateo was saying, the surprise that it's not lower. When I look at all of these elections, like in New Jersey and some of these other places, like it should be 0%. But I guess it's going to take a little bit longer for some of these folks to figure out. But like Mateo was saying, like they can indeed come for all of us. And they are. I mean, there are Black people who are in these lockups. There are Black people who are being, deported as well. African Americans who've been detained, not just like, Jamaicans and Haitians or people who, expect, to be deported and locked up. This is why I'm so happy to see all of the people who are stepping up. Because I'll be honest, Roland, like I was really nervous about what the response from much of America would actually be to what Trump was planning. And to see the way that people have been stepping up, you mentioned the clergy, which we'll get into later, it's really powerful and it's necessary. Because if folks don't do that, him and Stephen Miller and the like, they're just going to feel like they can completely continue to roll over people. And so there's strength in numbers, there's power in numbers, there's power in knowing your rights, and there's power also in being informed. And that's why also what we're doing tonight is important, because people need to see that what's happening, but also understand what to do about it. And we can't say enough, just like the sheriff mentioned who we had earlier, that so many of these people are not being charged with anything.
Yep.
And that needs to be called out as well. There needs to be a lot more lawsuits to come just from that alone.
Well, it's quite interesting. Before I go to Avis, I remember these folks right here. Well, let me find the best one, because, man, let's see here. Where is it? Because they were singing and dancing. Oh, y'all remember this here? The Cubans for Trump. Turn it up.
Oh.
Hold on one second. Oh, they were hyped. They were hyped till Trump said, I'm sending y'all asses back.
Lord have mercy. That will go down in history as the biggest L in politics ever. I mean, I can't even, here's the thing, particularly about what happened, I think a lot of times with Cubans, with Venezuelans. Let's just call a thing a thing. The reality is there is an element that is seduced by white adjacency in this nation that believe that they could disappear into whiteness and would then not be held into the same and experience the same level of attacks that maybe a Mexican person would under a Trump administration, perhaps. And I would just have to say, this administration has shown that when they, had those signs during the RNC that said mass deportations now, there was no asterisk that said except Cubans. There was no asterisk that said except Venezuelans. I mean, it is frustrating, honestly, as Black people to know just how the game is here, and to have had experiences with understanding the level of violence and complete injustice that can be wrought upon a people, and to try to communicate that to others, but only to see them reject just a completely better choice and an attempt to basically move forward and sort of, I would argue, anti-woman, perhaps anti-Black, perhaps, is an element of that vote, but ultimately to see that come back to bite them. It's disturbing to see, but at the end of the day, I guess even the I will vote for Donald Trump people are saying that you thought you were different. This administration has shown you, unfortunately for you, but quite in line with what we could have told you, you're not.
Well, folks are learning very quickly how they feel. All right, going to a break. We come back more. We're going to talk about, y'all, including a couple of Democratic members of Congress. I got an issue when it comes to one choosing not to seek re-election and another who is. I got a lot to talk about. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Hey, I'm Tasha Cobbs, and you are watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered. But I need a little filter. I need something. Blow me out. Make me look 35.
Well, America's Roman Catholic bishops, along with American-born Pope Leo XIV, they have condemned Donald Trump's policy of, quote, indiscriminate mass deportation through harsh ICE raid. The Department of Homeland Security reported that more than 527,000 deportations have taken place this year, and an additional 1.6 million individuals have self-deported. Since Trump took office for a second time in January, the population of ICE detainees has increased by nearly 70%. Pope Leo expressed doubts that God condones the inhumane, violent treatment of this administration. Listen.
The role of the church is to preach the gospel. And just a couple of days ago, we heard Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, which says, Jesus says very clearly, at the end of the world, we're going to be asked, how did you receive the foreigner? Did you receive him and welcome him or not? And I think that there's a deep reflection that needs to be made in terms of what's happening. Many people who've lived for years and years and years, never causing problems, have been deeply affected by what's going on right now.
America's Roman Catholic bishops dropped this video with a special message on immigration.
As pastors, we, the bishops of the United States, are bound to our people by ties of communion and compassion in our Lord Jesus Christ. And we are disturbed when we see among our people a climate of fear and anxiety around questions of profiling and immigration enforcement.
We are saddened by the state of contemporary debate and the vilification of immigrants. We are concerned about the conditions in detention centers and the lack of access to pastoral care.
We lament that some immigrants in the United States have arbitrarily lost their legal status. We are troubled by threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the special nature of hospitals and schools.
We are grieved when we meet parents who fear being detained when taking their children to school, or when we try to console family members who have already been separated from their loved ones.
Despite obstacles and prejudices, generations of immigrants have made enormous contributions to the well-being of our nation. We as Catholic bishops love our country and pray for its peace and prosperity.
For this very reason, we feel compelled now in this environment to raise our voices in defense of God-given human dignity.
Catholic teaching exhorts nations to recognize the fundamental dignity of all persons, including immigrants. We bishops advocate for a meaningful reform of our nation's immigration laws and procedures.
Human dignity and national security are not in conflict. Both are possible if people of good will work together.
We recognize that nations have a responsibility to regulate their borders and establish a just and orderly immigration system for the sake of the common good.
Without such processes, immigrants face the risk of trafficking and other forms of exploitation. Safe and legal pathways serve as an antidote to such risks.
The Church's teaching rests on the foundational concern for the human person as created in the image and likeness of God. As pastors, we look to the sacred scripture and the example of the Lord himself, where we find the wisdom of God's compassion. The priority of the Lord, as the prophet reminds us, is for those who are most vulnerable, the widow, the orphan, the poor, and the stranger.
In the Lord Jesus, we see the one who became poor for our sake. We see the Good Samaritan who lifts us from the dust. And we see the one who is found in the least of these. The Church's concern for neighbor and our concern here for immigrants is a response to the Lord's command to love as he has loved us.
To our immigrant brothers and sisters,
We stand with you in your suffering, since when one member suffers, all suffer. You are not alone.
We note with gratitude that so many of our clergy, consecrated religious and lay faithful already accompany and assist immigrants in meeting their basic human needs. We urge all people of goodwill to continue and expand such efforts.
We oppose the indiscriminate mass deportation of people. We pray for an end to dehumanizing rhetoric and violence, whether directed at immigrants or at law enforcement.
We pray that the Lord may guide the leaders of our nation, and we are grateful for past and present opportunities to dialogue with public and elected officials.
In this dialogue, we will continue to advocate for meaningful immigration reform. As disciples of the Lord, we remain men and women of hope, and hope does not disappoint.
May the mantle of Our Lady of Guadalupe enfold us all in her maternal and loving care and draw us ever closer to the heart of Christ.
Folks, the vote was 216 for, 5 against, 3 abstained. This was called a special message. The last time they did this was when they opposed the contraceptive mandate in the Affordable Care Act in 2013. See, Avis, the reason I think this is so interesting because, MAGA was losing their mind. This took place last week on Wednesday. And MAGA was losing it. I mean, they were so angry. And I was sitting here going, that's interesting because they sure loved the same Catholic bishops who wouldn't give communion to Democrats who were pro-choice. They love the same Catholic bishops on abortion, but they're silent when those same Catholic bishops are against the death penalty. And so now, because these Catholic bishops have chosen to follow the biblical model of Jesus, these fake-ass MAGA Christians are showing us exactly who they are because they don't believe in the Bible. They don't believe in humanity. What they do is they accept and they back cruelty.
If they worship anything, it is cruelty that they worship. And then they twist and cherry pick the Bible or even just make up shit and say it's from the Bible in order to justify their political stances. So I'm not surprised that they're all of a sudden clutching their pearls when it comes to these statements. Because when you really put their feet to the fire, when you talk about do their actions line up with any moral code that could at all be associated with Christianity, it's completely MIA. But they're going to weaponize it to the extent that they can. And then when they're shown to be the hypocrites that they are, instead of acknowledging that, they come out and they attack those who are standing by their religious beliefs.
Yeah, it's amazing how, now look at the leftist Pope Leo, and they go on and on and on, Mikongo, but it shows you how hypocritical they are. And so my whole deal is, wait a minute, the Catholic bishops are simply saying, we're following the model of Jesus, and they don't hold Donald Trump up to be some big G God.
Yeah, and, shout out to Pope Leo really for leading this effort. I mean, it's extremely important that the religious community speak up. I mean, we've seen them out in the streets. In Chicago, everyone saw the video of the one, Black, I believe his last name, shot in the head with one of those, pellet bullets or whatever, knocked to the ground. They've been deep in this fight, unlike a lot of these white evangelicals. I didn't say evangelicals, these white evangelicals who are out there just praising Trump in every way, shape, or form. It's kind of similar to like the civil rights movement when a lot of these guys, these were the types of guys who Dr. King wrote the letters to about, where are y'all in times like this? One of the things that I found interesting when this came out was Tom Homan's response. Tom Homan actually said that he's a Catholic. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And the fact that the people in this PSA were majority white, I think is very powerful, because people within the black clergy have been speaking up regularly about this across so many different types of denominations. And so right now is a time for everybody to speak up. This is the time where history is going to be on everybody. Where was your synagogue? Where was your mosque? Where was your church in this particular moment? And run down every other religion or anybody who's not religious. This is an all hands on deck moment. And I have a lot of respect for Pope Leo and what he did with the rest of his bishops to be able to speak to this moment right now. Because as we talked about with, Pharrell and other people later, so many people are choosing not to speak up in this moment.
Mateo?
Yeah, I agree with everything that everybody has said. I see a slightly different, I have a slightly different view on something. I think that while we can all hear some of the clergies and some of the religious leaders speak against what is going on, I think that MAGA is going to kind of, in a way, we've seen it, by the way. We've seen, in my legal studies, I studied criminal culture in Italy in the 1920s under fascism, and in the 1930s with the Nazi regime. Same thing is happening now. Some clergy are speaking out. The population is still hardwired to believe that their leader, Donald Trump, is the one that has the truth, and so MAGA is going to try to marginalize this clergy, and that opens a very scary space for Christian nationalism to drive in. And Christian nationalism, number one, does what Christian nationalism does, and no one wants that. Number two, it allows for a faith-based narrative to say what is happening is God's will. What is happening? Trump is doing the Lord's work. And there are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that will listen to that and say, okay, well, that fits my narrative. So that's where I'm going with. I'm going with Christian nationalism. And once you have those two locked in, then the road to recovery becomes extremely steep.
All right, folks, I got to go to break. We come back. Black woman gives birth in the waiting room? What the hell is going on? Also, Pharrell makes some rather strange comments regarding politics and what's happening with DEI. I think I'm going to have to take him to class. Also, folks are filing a run for office. A couple of Democrats, I got a real problem with what they've done. I'll explain. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. What are we trying to do? We're trying to raise $1 million. We're launching a new health show. We're launching a daily news show. We're launching a business show. It's a whole lot we're doing. That actually takes money. Your support is critical. And again, if you can't give $50, you can give less. Hey, we appreciate every single dollar. Since we launched this show 7 years ago, some 37,000 donors have stood with us, and we appreciate every single one of them and every single dollar they've given. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. Remember, we don't have our Cash App accounts anymore because they changed their rules. But you see it right here in the bottom left-hand corner for Cash App. You can use that for credit cards as well. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis, and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, are you looking for clarity on your believer's journey? Are you finding it difficult to really find your lane and stay in your place? Do you think that you have what it takes to build a sense of community even in these difficult times, knowing that God has got your back? Well, this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about just those things.
I have the courage to walk through this tough season because they're going to come.
You need the friends that have a belief system like yours.
A believer's journey this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin.
Unfiltered.
All right, folks, we're approaching that time of the year where candidates decide that they want to run for re-election or not run. And there's always some interesting things that happen. Let's be real clear. One of the most guaranteed jobs in the world is a member of Congress. The re-election rate is extremely high. So very few people actually will challenge an incumbent because hard to raise money, hard to run against them, and to defeat them. So a couple of things happened. So in Chicago, Chuy Garcia, longtime member of Congress, decided that first of all, he filed, then decided, yeah, I'm not going to run. But he decided very late on the Monday, the day of the deadline, and then right before the deadline, his chief of staff slid her name in as the only Democrat nominee. Interesting. So a Democrat from Washington State, not happy at all, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez, she says, this is BS, it's anti-democratic. So she wants the Democrats to vote on a symbolic resolution expressing disapproval of what she calls a scheme. Here is Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking about that resolution.
Thank you. Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez has moved to formally disapprove of Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia for his kind of maneuvering with his reelection bid. I'm curious, what's your stance on that, and whether you're telling Democrats to vote against formally reprimanding him?
I strongly support the motion to table that will be brought this evening, and I expect that it will succeed.
Leader Jeffries.
Thanks. Third row.
Do you think that the manner in which Congressman Garcia retired abruptly for only his chief of staff to take his place, do you think that was wrong?
Here's what I think. The American people are focused on the high cost of living in the United States of America. That's what they're focused on. The affordability crisis, that's what the results were all about during the first Tuesday of this month, when Republicans were select throughout the country. Because they have failed on the economy, and Democrats actually have a vision all over the country to drive down the high cost of living and deal with the affordability crisis that exists in the United States of America. As House Democrats, that's what we're going to continue to focus on. I do not support this so-called resolution of disapproval, and I strongly support Congressman Chuy Garcia. He's been a progressive champion in disenfranchised communities for decades, including during his time in Congress, and he's made life better for the American people.
All right, I understand that. And you have Democratic leader supporting him. And here was a statement that Garcia put out. Congressman Garcia made a deeply personal decision based on his health, his wife's worsening condition, and his responsibility to the grandchildren he is raising after the death of his daughter. He followed every rule and every filing requirement laid out by the state of Illinois. At a moment like this, he hopes his colleagues, especially those who speak out about family values, can show the same compassion and respect that any family would want during a health crisis. Congressman Garcia remains committed to finishing his term with dignity and continuing his lifelong fight for working families. Okay, I get that. I get it. But let's be real clear. That ain't what's going on here. Garcia's office, they're submitting these talking points right here. Congressman Garcia filed to run for re-election. He wanted to continue to fight for his district in a House majority. In the days before the filing deadline, his cardiologist warned of increased health risk. His wife's multiple sclerosis was progressing, and he finalized the adoption of his grandson in the same week. Congressman Garcia wanted to put his family first, a decision that any parent or grandparent would understand. The context, Congressman Garcia followed all requirements and deadlines under Illinois law. Any candidate interested in running to represent Illinois 4 could have submitted petitions at any time before the filing deadline. The ballot was open to everyone. On the motion of disapproval, voters want Congress to work on affordability and kitchen table issues, not spend time on insider disagreements. This motion is a ploy that our opponents will use for their own gain, blah, 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 blah. Y'all, Congressman Garcia knows that's bullshit. See, I'm going to call bullshit when I see bullshit. I don't care whether it's Democrat or Republican. This is a Huffington Post story right here, and give me 1 second. And what's interesting in this story, they say the maneuver that Garcia did, they said, this is a quote, the maneuver is far from unprecedented. Former Illinois Representative Bill Lipinski, who was a Democrat, I think, pulled a very similar trick in 2005 to clear a path for his son, former Representative Dan Lipinski, to easily win election to Congress. See, what Garcia did was, he didn't just pull out. He didn't just pull out. The deadline was 5 p.m. He pulled out after 4 p.m. Now, y'all, if Chuy Garcia knew he wasn't going to run, he could have announced that Sunday night, on Saturday, on Friday. He could announce it at 8 a.m. on Monday. But he waited as long as he could to give one person opportunity to file for office, his chief of staff. He knew, because he's a longtime member, nobody was going to run against him. But if they knew that he wasn't running, I can guarantee you there would have been other candidates vying for the office. So I'm not saying his cardiologist didn't tell him their health risk. I guarantee you his cardiologist didn't say that at the last second. His wife's multiple sclerosis didn't, I don't believe, all of a sudden get worse. Finalize the adoption of the grandchild meant that process was happening weeks or months before. So that's one. So I call BS on that. And I understand her resolution because, frankly, that's how you screw other people. Because I need people to understand, these seats are not owned by any individual or party. They're the seats of the people. And I've long said that nobody has a right to say, how dare you run against me? Because your job is to make the case to the people every 2 years, if you are a member of the U.S. House, why you should get reelected. That's why I have a serious problem. And I like them, but I got a serious problem with what I heard today in this clip from Memphis Congressman Steve Cohen, who is clearly upset that Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson has announced that he's running for the seat that Cohen occupies.
Say to folks who say, Steve Cohen, you need to get out of the way and hand it over to someone young.
There'll be a time for that. He's not ready. He's only served 3 years in the General Assembly. He hadn't passed a bill. I don't think he's passed a resolution. And his attendance record was the worst of any member of the General Assembly. If you don't take your attendance as your responsibility, and I know he had a brother who committed suicide, and he had some problems, and he said that's what he was dealing with. So I don't think he's ready. And he could have waited 2 years. He could have waited 4 years. He could have talked to me. He was an intern for me when he was in high school, and he never talked to me about running for office. It was kind of like Pearl Harbor. That's not the way you do it, and you work with people, and it's just not time. And I've got more to do, and I've got experience, and I've got the opportunity. I'll be a committee chairman when I go up there. The lowest thing in the world is a freshman in the minority party.
Regardless of how much national attention you have?
Right, yeah. Exactly. So why would you trade in a 20-year veteran who's got the choice of chairman of the or ranking member, whichever it becomes with a majority or minority party, of the aviation subcommittee or committee, a spot on judiciary, and intelligence committee for a freshman who will get what's left over? Some people have come to me and said they have a problem and their friends have a problem. They don't want to be against me and they don't want to be against my opponent. And I think, well, the problem was caused by my opponent by running. He should have waited a couple of years. So it's not my problem. Some people have said, oh, you need to mentor him. I don't think he's mentorable, to be honest. And a lot of older people, particularly African-American women, support me and want me to retire when I want to retire, not because some people want some new guy who's going to have his time. He will get in office at some point or another, but it's not going to be in 2026.
I know Congressman Steve Cohen. We've always had a cordial relationship. But this has to be said. That comment by those comments by Congressman Steve Cohen are arrogant, abhorrent, and privileged. First and foremost, it is arrogant to say he needs to wait 2 or 4 years. Why? Why does he need to wait? Anybody can run. I don't care if he was an intern for you. Anybody can decide to run. Representative Pearson does not have to come to Congressman Cohen to say, hey, can I get your permission to run for Congress? He does it. Then, was anybody else bothered when he said he likened Pearson's announcement to Pearl Harbor? I'm sorry. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. You were saying that this dude running is comparable to more than 2,400 Americans being killed in Pearl Harbor? Bruh, really? Now, when Cohen talked about his attendance, that's fair game. But Pearson has also said that his brother committed suicide. That was an issue. Absolutely, I get it. He talks about, he hasn't even passed one resolution. Everybody knows how racist the Tennessee Republican legislature is. So we already know that. But if you want to make the argument that you have experience, if the Democrats control the House, you would be the chair of a committee, it all makes sense. But I believe it is completely arrogant and dismissive and privileged for any member of Congress to have the audacity to say they need to wait. I'll retire when I decide to retire. No, Congressman Cohen, you'll retire when the voters decide to retire you. Because we have numerous examples of incumbents who have run for office and the voters retired them. Ask Eric Cantor what happened in Virginia when a right-wing MAGA candidate defeated him with little money. Ask Congressman Hilliard in Alabama what happened when he ran. I mean, we can show you many folks who ran for office and lost. But you, Congressman Cohen, you, Congressman Garcia, and any other Democrat or Republican, white, Black, Latino, Asian, Native American, none of you own a seat. That is the seat of the voters. And you are to make your case. And I don't believe anybody has to wait to challenge you. Your job is to make your case to the voters. Omen Congo, your thoughts?
I mean, what a shot in the foot for him to do that. I mean, you, as somebody who knows him, said you had a cordial relationship. If he was running, this would be a situation that you wouldn't be saying what you're saying right now about him. His comments were arrogant, ignorant, like you said, arrogant and ignorant and disrespectful. Even if you felt like Representative, if Pearson wasn't ready, why'd he got to bring up his brother? You know, that everybody knows that that's a situation that was a real thing. And then and then the whole thing he said about, and black women support me and so on and so forth. Like, even just politically, it's politically stupid because I can hear black women saying, oh, you think you're just going to take our vote for granted just like that and make him work for it? Or just say, we riding with Justin because black women are the smartest voters within the Democratic Party and the backbone of the Democratic Party. So why would you just go out there and just say, like, strategically, it doesn't make sense to just say black women got me, right? And that this guy's too young and to wait his turn. They said, wait your turn to old. And so the arrogant, and going back to the Garcia one as well, look, I ran for city council when I was actually physically living in D.C. in 2018. There's a lot of paperwork you got to fill out. So this idea, she, just slipped in his, chief of staff, whatever, at like 4:15 or something. That's complete nonsense. It was completely planned. And these are two incredible examples of what happens when Democrats get too comfortable, when they get too arrogant, when they get too ignorant. And this makes room for somebody, a MAGA type or Republican type or somebody who doesn't represent the interests of our community to sneak in there and take advantage of the division. Well, both examples are arrogant.
Well, the reality is MAGA ain't winning that seat. That's Memphis. It ain't going to happen. And here's the deal, Avis. There have been a number of prominent black Democrats who have run against Cohen in previous years, and he's beat them. So just make your argument to the voters. But again, what bothers me, one, how dare you liken him running to Pearl Harbor? I'm sorry. A person announcing they're running against you ain't the same as a foreign country blowing up planes, air bases, killing more than 2,400 Americans, injuring more than 1,000. One of the most catastrophic things that's ever happened to the United States. So that's bullshit. But number two, a whole bunch of older black women made it clear that I can retire when I want to retire. Again, that's arrogance and privilege. You don't own that seat. You don't control it. And then he said, he'll be able to run for it later. But in the same interview, he made clear who he wants to take the seat when he decides that he wants to retire or if he gets voted out. Roll the clip.
Who comes in after you in this seat? What type of person, what type of leader do you imagine filling the role?
I think it would be somebody who spent time in the state house and the state senate, has passed bills, has the respect of their colleagues, a person who unites people and gets along with people, a person who might be African American and Indian descent. And I think that would be the type of person you'd look to see to succeed you. I'm much, much, much closer finishing my career. And I know that at 76 and with my bad leg, just so much time.
Will you have the money and the stamina to take him on?
I will have the money. I've got $1.8 million in my fund. So I'll have fundraisers and I'll raise money. I'll have the money. He got $1 million from one person, David Hogg, who's a 25-year-old graduate of Harvard who was at Parkland School. He wasn't in one of the classrooms where the shootings and killings are on the corridor, but he was in this classroom and he heard the bullets go off and was a great spokesman for anti-gun and gun legislation. He pledged him $1 million. Now, any person, that's more money for a state legislative ratio than Elon Musk gave Donald Trump for president. So you talk about somebody going in who's already encumbered to somebody who gave him $1 million and to the Justice Democrats who's supporting him and basically did his press outlet and everything else and they're behind him big time. He's going to have obligations to them too. We've got a congressperson who responds to the district, always has, not to somebody that from Florida that gave me $1 million or to some group that's up in New York that put in the squad and is going to call his number.
Oh, okay. So he pretty much Avis is endorsing someone else when he decides that, hey, I'm done in this job. Again, I can't stand any member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, who thinks that they own a seat. That's the people's seat.
You know what it shows me? He's scared. He's spooked. He understands that this is not the lock that he wants to try to say it is in that interview, that it's his seat until he decides that he wants to retire. Well, I have news for him. He does not control, first of all, Black women. I don't know what made him think that he could speak for Black women, but you know what? I kind of know Black women. I kind of have firsthand experience with Black women, and we don't like old white men telling us what to do. Number one. Number two, it's very, very offensive to many people to see a constant refrain of people staying in seats that honestly beyond their welcome. One of the biggest critiques that the Democratic Party has right now is that the people in office are not fighting enough, that we need different people, bolder people, more vocal people, hell, younger people in those seats. And I know he knows that that is the undercurrent of what he is facing right now. And so instead of fighting like a man and actually talking about the issues and actually saying and actually making a case as to why it would make sense to reelect him, I see what he's doing, honestly, as very, very nasty, very personal and offensive attacks. And I have news for him. I don't believe that's going to help him in the long run. If anything, I think that's going to gain momentum to his opponent. And if anything, I think he might end up being very surprised in terms of what the turnout is going to look like, in terms of how the vote is going to go, and in terms of whether or not this is going to be just another election for him where he can just expect to come back, or if he'll be challenged and overturned by this much, much younger and much, much more vocal candidate.
Let's be clear, Mateo. Incumbents hate challenges. They hate running. They don't want to have to spend the money. They don't want to have to, oh, damn, now I got to go out here and I got to politic and I got to go knock on doors. They are used to running unopposed in the primary, knowing full well that the other party will run against them in the general. That's just a fact. Again, I don't believe my criticism isn't valid. I don't like the language. How dare he? How dare he run? You should wait 2 to 4 years. You're too young. You haven't done enough. You have enough experience. You were my intern. Well, you know what? I was other people's intern in media, and my career has advanced a hell of a lot further than theirs did. Sometime the intern could be better than the person who taught them. But the point here is this here. If you believe that you are the better person and the better candidate, prove it. Run. Listen, it's not the same, but I just ran for the National Association of Black Journalists Board of Directors, Vice President Digital. I was previously Vice President Digital. Before that, Secretary. Before that, National Student Rep. And there were 3 other people who ran against me. I didn't say, how dare y'all run against me? I was the only one who actually owns a digital network. And they were running for the digital job. But you know what I said? Bring it. I'm going to take it to the voters and say, hey, y'all, this me, this them. Which one y'all want? I won. That's what you're supposed to do. What Chuy Garcia did here is he greased the skids for his chief of staff. That's what he did. And what Cohen is doing is showing a level of arrogance by saying, how dare he oppose me? He didn't even come talk to me first. He didn't need to.
You know, I'll say one thing. I agree with everything that he has said. I certainly agree with the fact that we're peeking behind the curtain here and seeing how people think when they're cornered. of the day, if anybody here thinks that the career politician sees their seat as a career and not as a profession, if we think that they're going to work every day really for the constitution,
hold on, Mateo. Your signal is dropping in and out. Hold on one second, Mateo. Your signal is dropping in and out. So let's go ahead and repeat that last part. Let's see if we got you back. Go ahead.
Campaigning.
All right, Mateo. Hey, Mateo, your signal is completely choppy, and we left off where you said that it's a profession. It's not. You said something about being a profession. Do we have him back? All right, because I want him to finish his comment. Do we have Mateo back? All right, Mateo. It started chopping up right there, but you made a point about a profession. Now pick it up from there.
So if we think that these career politicians are seeing their career as a profession before they see their career, then I have a bridge to sell you. They are spending the vast majority of their time campaigning and a relatively small portion of their time actually serving their constituents. That is their focus, and we have to lower the veil and realize that the majority of lifetime federal lawmakers see their seat as a career. And great point, we need new blood. The Democratic Party certainly needs new blood.
All right, Mateo, your signal is choppy again, so let's try to get that fixed. I don't know if you're on Ethernet or Wi-Fi. That could be an issue there, but let's sort of get that fixed. All right, folks, I'm going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about a black woman being forced to give birth in a waiting room because they were not attending to her needs. Yeah, seriously. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis, and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Black women are facing a worsening maternity crisis in 2024. There were 50 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births for black women. That's higher than any other group. It speaks to show this viral video. They show what black women call discrimination from staff at the Dallas Regional Medical Center in Mesquite, Texas. She arrived to deliver her daughter. The emotional footage shows Carrie Jones doubled over in pain, barely able to sit in her wheelchair, as a white nurse continues intake questions rather than rushing her to the delivery room. Carrie's mother says the staff kept her daughter waiting more than half an hour, and she gave birth just 12 minutes after finally being admitted.
Is your What? How many times have you been pregnant?
3.
This is your 3rd pregnancy?
Yes.
You have 2 babies
It's
at home?
in my ass.
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Last name is Jones. She's G3P2. I'm not sure what her due date is.
Her due date
I
is
just said
the
it was the 10th.
Her due date is 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home. I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors. Everybody say how they treat people.
Jones and her newborn are undergoing extra medical tests after the trauma and stress they suffered during the delay. Dallas Regional Medical Center says it's reviewing what happened but can't share details due to privacy laws. Wow. Supervisor Attorney Lee Merritt joins us right now. Lee, are you involved in this with the family, or what's your role here?
No, I'm not directly involved in the case. Like everyone else, I saw this happen in my community where, my kids were born in Dallas hospitals, and I was deeply disturbed. I've shared out about it. We've discovered other instances where things like this have happened, and we're seeing what we can do to protect black women, black mothers in the Dallas County area.
This woman is screaming in pain, and the damn nurse is on the phone. All of the data, you could get that data afterwards. In fact, you could say, get this woman into a room. Mom, I need to get the information from you. But that was complete, utter indifference.
Yeah. And I'm concerned about her behavior, but I'm also concerned about the statements that the hospital itself has made since. We've all seen the video. We know what indifference looks like. We know that there's a black women's mortality crisis that are occurring in places like Texas. And this is the reason why. And so, yeah, we get that everyone gets due process, and this receptionist at the desk, she gets to explain her action. But we want to see direct and decisive a response from the medical community that says this kind of thing will not be allowed and the black women are safe in Texas hospitals.
The mother, Cash, who goes by Cash with 2814 on TikTok, posted that video. And I don't understand how the hospital has not announced that nurse has been put on administrative leave.
Yeah. No, the hospital has acknowledged that they've seen the video that's been viewed now millions of times all over the world. They've acknowledged that the employee, that it took place in their facility, that is their employee. And they said, they gave us a blanket, generic statement that they care about everyone's well-being and safety and that they want to give everyone the best experience. And obviously this family did not receive that. And so if they delay in making an assertive statement, taking an action against this receptionist, then they're going into the ratification area where they're ratifying the behavior of this actor and saying this is the kind of thing that black women should expect from the Dallas Regional Medical Center in Mesquite.
This was their statement to People magazine. We are committed to providing compassionate, high-quality care to every person who comes through our doors, and we are reviewing this situation to understand what occurred. Due to patient privacy laws, we cannot share further details at this time, but our focus remains on ensuring that every patient receives the attentive, respectful care they deserve. First of all, patient privacy laws, her mama's already put this thing out publicly. And I guarantee you, the woman who with the baby, I'm sure she would say, "Oh, I will happily waive these privacy issues. Y'all need to talk publicly."
Yeah. And it's not only Mr. Jones' privacy that we're concerned about. They're concerned about the privacy of their own employee, and she's not entitled to HIPAA protections. That's not a concern that our community shares. We want to know what's going on with your employee, what actions your hospital is taking. Not any classified information from the victim. We've heard enough from her, and we've seen enough from her.
This is absolutely outlandish. Avis, your thoughts?
Is I've had natural childbirth twice, and I can tell you one thing: as soon as she found it, first of all, it was obvious this woman was in active labor. Number one. Number two, she knew that this was not her first child. Typically, subsequent children come faster than your first child, so she should have known that she could have dropped that child at any moment. I've heard parts of this video where she was specifically asking for the anesthesiologist. I chose not to do that, but that was my choice. If she wanted to have an epidural, the fact that this woman just sat there and allowed her to suffer ever since she got
30 minutes,
should have immediately
30 minutes.
Pushed. Exactly. And who knows what could have gone wrong in those moments. She's not a doctor. She wasn't being checked out at the time that she was going through this active labor. Anything could have been happening. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing the fact that Black women have a maternal mortality rate that's roughly 3 times that of white women in this nation. One of the reasons why is because our pain is not respected. Our pain is diminished. And somehow you have people like that who do not listen to mothers who are writhing in pain and doing what they can and should do as health professionals, not only to protect her health and well-being, but also to protect the health and well-being of that unborn child. That woman needs to be fired, period.
Absolutely. I'm looking here, I'm on the mom's page, and I'm just looking for her any latest here. But, I mean, Ome Congo, this is absolutely wild. You have a comment or a question for Lee?
Well, I have a question for Lee. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to know if, when you look at the indifference of this woman towards the sister who was given birth, does it at all make you conjure up some of the cases of the unarmed shootings and things that you've represented where people have just kind of left us lying in the street, no medical attention, just the indifference? Because that was some of what was going through my mind.
You know what? That's exactly what it makes me think of. It's the systemic dehumanization of Blackness itself. And so the same medical workers who are neglecting this mom, they reflect the same kind of medical workers who had to deal with some of my victims after they were victims of police violence. And often we see the medical community make a choice to either side with the patients. And I've seen heroic medical workers say, I will not allow law enforcement to neglect and treat people this way. This is not the oath that I committed to, or, this is not how we do it in this field. And then we see people like this woman who adopt the culture of hook and sinker and reflect very much the culture that devalues Black life that we see often in American policing.
Mateo, I'm reading the mother's page, and she said the baby was crowning in the wheelchair, and there were 4 others sitting there talking about it and did nothing.
I mean, I watched the video. It was horrific. It's a case not just of carelessness. It's a case of discrimination. It potentially, I don't know the details, but as I watched it, it potentially violates a host of federal laws. It could violate EMTALA. It could violate the ADA that recognizes extreme pain as a disability. It certainly would violate Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And I think that the question is not whether the hospital made a mistake or whether the individual. The question is whether they followed the law. That's what we need to focus on, and then there needs to be redress for that. That idea that the health and the well-being of Americans is valued less than that of white Americans has got to stop. This is systemic, and we know it's systemic because we look at the numbers. Black Americans with heart disease receive fewer interventions, they receive fewer stents, and fewer cardiac surgeries. They are routinely diagnosed later. This is data, this is statistics, and they're treated less aggressively. Black patients are 40% less likely to receive pain medication in emergency departments. Black patients face higher rates of preventable complications. The same complications that are routinely diagnosed by doctors and by nurses are less likely to be diagnosed if you have the wrong skin color. This is systemic. This is not that lady. That lady is representative of a system that absolutely needs to change.
Yeah, Lee, I guarantee you, ain't no white woman sitting there 30 minutes screaming in pain, and they're like, so how many kids do you have?
No.
You've been pregnant before? Who's your doctor? And then you call the doctor. Come on, man.
No human reaction. And despite how offensive it is, he was exactly right. It's a violation of the law. The law requires that anyone who comes in and presents with inactive labor gets immediately to a bed. You deal with the paperwork later because lives are at stake. Literally, life and death is at risk. And we claim in Texas to be a state that cares about children, about the birth of children, how important that is in the conservative community. Well, this is where it starts with black women's how black women are treated in hospitals all over the state.
That woman, that nurse, whoever she was, she should not be in that position at all. She should be suspended. There's no reason in the world where she should be there. All right, Lee, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Folks, Philadelphia is rolling back its long-standing diversity goals for city contracts. For nearly 40 years, the city aimed for at least 25% of contracting dollars to go to minority, women, or disabled-owned businesses. And at one point, city leaders pushed for that number to reach 35%. But the mayor's office now says it is no longer pursuing those targets. The city's top lawyers say the changes comes as a new federal legal precedent that prohibits the setting of contracting goals based on race and gender, and that the city must ensure public funds are not used to promote, reinforce, or perpetuate discrimination. Now, here's what I'm not understanding here. Mateo, the Supreme Court has not ruled on contracting. So this Trump anti-DEI executive order, that does not apply, let's be real clear, that does not apply to cities and states. Now, if you're talking federal dollars that a city receives, different conversation. What you have here, you have, frankly, these conservative groups that are now suing cities trying to stop these programs, and many of these folks are afraid of being sued, so therefore they're rolling these programs back. That's what's going on.
What you have here is a reign of terror. It is the federalization, the localization of a federal trend. I know I talked about Project 2025 earlier tonight, but I'll talk about it again. This is Project 2025 in action. It is about rolling back equity. This is what Project 2025 is also about. It's about many other things, but it's about rolling back equity. Philadelphia talks, and the mayor talked about the legal risks of DEI. What I'd like for people to start talking about are the legal risks of removing DEI, and the fact that the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, which no court can take away, no executive can take away. The Equal Protection Clause doesn't just prohibit discrimination. People need to understand that. It demands that governments address the effects, the pregress effects of past discrimination. And DEI programs are aiming at doing that, and removing that is actually a violation of the constitutional right encapsulated in the Equal Protection Clause. And it's the result of the pressure of the federal government and its sort of tentacular realities at local level that is getting these cities, these mayors, these municipalities to react in a manner that eventually 15, 20 years from now we're going to realize is going to be insanely detrimental to our society. It is immediately to minorities. It will be extremely detrimental to our society at large.
This I don't understand. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer. The new standards are part of a broader dismantling of race and gender-conscious policy in city procurement, a process that could affect contracts to historically disadvantaged firms worth more than $370 million annually. Solicitor Rene Garcia, the city's top lawyer, said in a statement that the change in Philadelphia's practice comes as new federal legal precedent prohibits the setting of contracting goals based on race and gender, and that the city must ensure public funds, quote, are not used to promote, reinforce, or perpetuate discrimination. The goal of the revised program is to create an environment in which all businesses can thrive and contribute to the local economy. I'm sorry, what federal legal precedent is she talking about? The Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action that only applied to colleges. Now, what Republicans have done, they've tried to suggest that the Supreme Court affirmative action ruling applies to everything. That's not true, Mateo.
It is not true, but I guarantee you that the federal government is going to take a very broad approach to this interpretation, just like they did. We talked about earlier. They're doing with ICE targeting based on color of the skin or accent. Municipalities are paralyzed by the fact that they survive off of these funds, and they know that the federal government and their local assets are coming after them at one point or another, so they're being preemptive. There are conversations that are happening between people in municipalities, I know this for a fact, that are only happening via phone because people are afraid that the government is going to find out that they sent an email, even now that it is legal to say certain things, and will retroactively punish them. This is where we're living now.
Yep. Here's the thing, Omekongo, a State Inquirer story. Last month, Mayor Parker of Philadelphia, her administration settled a lawsuit brought by firms represented by the Trump-aligned American First legal nonprofit that claimed language related to workforce diversity in the city's vendor contracts was illegal. As part of the settlement, the city agreed to pay $417,000 in attorney's fees and clarify the diversity benchmarks in its project agreements are aspirational goals, not mandatory quotas. What did I say earlier this year, Omekongo? This is a Trump, MAGA, GOP effort to defund Black America.
Oh, absolutely. And I see it as somebody who speaks across the country on issues relating to inclusion. Once that Supreme Court decision came out, just like you said, it was focused on colleges. But in the corporate spaces I was at, that I go to, people are talking about changing the languages. In nonprofit organizations, people are talking about changing the language. And now you see with the city government, this is a classic example of what Tim Snyder talks about in his book on tyranny, about obeying in advance. And at some point, people have to decide that enough is enough. How many people are willing to really push forward and fight this? You're sitting here talking about it. This was not part of the Supreme Court decision. Mateo's talking about the legal challenges as it relates to this. People have to continue fighting and stop settling, because at the end of the day, they have solid cases. It's almost like some of these issues we see with the media, just caving into Trump, like ABC and the like. We have to continue fighting. The elections of the last couple of weeks have shown that Americans are embracing diversity and want diverse voices and diverse experiences to reign in this country, as we were on that progress of doing. Of course, we're never perfect with it, but if cities like these continue to cave in advance, if state governments continue to cave in advance, then Trump doesn't have to lift a finger, and people are going to continue to move in his favor for him. This isn't in Project 2025. People obeying in advance, that's not in the project. The Project 2025 is their aggressive behavior to get rid of anything that represents DEI. It doesn't mean that we have to just bend over and take it just like that.
Story here, Avis. Philadelphia faced its own adverse ruling last year when the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit sided with contractors who sued the city over its bidding rules, leading the city to settle with the plaintiffs last month. The firms, again represented by attorneys from America Legal First Legal, founded by Trump advisor Stephen Miller, claimed that the city violated the Constitution by forcing bidders to sign agreements that included diverse workforce goals. the case was not explicitly about awarding contracts to diverse business owners, but the court's opinion, authored by Judge Paul Mady, cleared the way for contractors to bring claims challenging the city's policies related to racial and gender equity as potentially in violation of the Constitution's, get this, Mateo just talked about it, guarantee equal protection. So, Avis, what these white folks are doing, and I have been saying this, they are literally using the civil rights laws. They are using the 1866 Civil Rights Act. They're using the Equal Protection Clause that was put there to help black folks. They're now saying, oh no, this is discriminating against whites. That's what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're using. And they're also using the methods of the legal actions that were used during the civil rights movement in terms of having a legal strategy that is broad and meant to sort of chip by chip tear down different practices with the goal of bringing it to the Supreme Court to bring across broader change. We are seeing that tactic now being used against us. But at the end of the day, what they're also looking to do here, this is a full frontal attack on Black economic power. It's really interesting to see what these folks are doing. On the one hand, we started off the show and we talked about what's going on all across this nation with regards to the ICE raids. That's how they're going after the Latino community. How they're going after the Black community is with our economic power. And this is one of the first things they did on the very first day he was in office, the first 2 days he was in office. It was all about rolling back those civil rights advancements that, quite frankly, took us years, decades to get in place just to have one small iota of fairness. And for anybody, I know we're going to get to Pharrell in a minute, but for anybody who thinks that the situation was fair to begin with, or is even, or they must be smoking crack. Are you kidding me? The entire reason why those laws were needed in the first place is because you had a system that was bastardized from the beginning, that was specifically only open to a very small group of individuals, no matter how unqualified they were. And if you want to see some of the most qualified, I hate to use that term because only we have to prove that we're qualified. But let me just tell you, the people who have fought so long to get here are people that belong there. Should have been there, if not for the practices of discrimination that we've had in this country for years. So to see this happen at the city level, after we know what's going on now at the federal level, as well as what's happened in corporations all across this nation, every little place that Black business owners, for example, could have gone now in order to get one iota of fairness, you know, from the federal level, from corporations, now looking at Philadelphia and other cities, they are just chipping away all the different spaces with the goal of completely undermining Black economic power.
That's all that's going on. All right. So Avis mentioned Pharrell, and I saw this video on social media, and I just sat there and said, here's another example of an entertainer not knowing what the hell they are talking about and sounding utterly clueless. Now, I don't know where this was. It was at some event. All right, I don't know. Again, roll a clip.
As we look at what's going on in the current political climate, I'm just saying to anyone attorney by y'all, I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are only, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just got to say that I think about it. The wells are drying up, and okay, now that diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there Black people in there tonight? Yeah. And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Right, so I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on. And if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in styles, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that. Because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best.
Run that back.
As we look at what's going on in the current political climate, I'm just saying to anyone attorney by y'all, I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are only, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just got to say that. Think about it. The wells are drying up, and okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there black people in there tonight? Yeah. And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Right, so I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on. And if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in styles, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that. Because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best.
Allow me this is very simple. This is extremely simple. What Pharrell just said there is really some of the dumbest shit I ever heard. Okay. Pharrell said, I hate politics. It's a magic trick. It's not real. When you pick a side, you pick division. Okay, Pharrell. When somebody's running for office, somebody's going to win. So what happens is, if you vote, you gotta pick. You gotta pick. This is not, I don't know. Matter of fact, let's see here. Just check something right here. Give me 1 second. I'm checking right here. Pharrell, you got 13 Grammys. Which means you were nominated a number of times. Nominated. Which means that there were other people in the category. Which means that a committee or somebody actually voted to determine who should win the Grammy. 13 times, Pharrell, they voted, you got more votes than the other people in the category. Let me put that in political terms. That means, Pharrell, that if there were 5 people in the category, That means there were 5 people running for office. That means a committee in politics is called voters, assess the work of the 5 nominees, in politics is called candidates, and the committee in politics is called the voters, determine who they felt should win the Grammy, in politics, who should be in office. Pharrell, it's the same. Pharrell, you are a taxpayer. In fact, Pharrell, he's a perfect example. And we covered this story in 2021. Your cousin, Donovan Lynch, was shot and killed in Virginia Beach. We cover the story. Wayne Lynch, Donovan's father, filed a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit against the city and the black cop involved. The city of Virginia Beach settled the lawsuit, Pharrell, for $3 million. Pharrell, that's called politics. The city, elected leaders, had to approve the settlement. So what I'm confused by is, how do you believe, and let me be real clear, Pharrell, I am not saying that you, Pharrell, should publicly endorse anybody for office. I am not saying that you, Pharrell, should donate to any one candidate. In fact, you, Pharrell, have every right not to tell anybody who you vote for. You have the absolute right to walk into the privacy of a voting booth and make your selection on the city races, the county races, the school board races, the DA races, the municipal judges, the statewide races. That's if you're registered to vote. You have the absolute right, Pharrell, to walk into the booth and make your selection as to who you want representing your interest. But to say that politics, I hate politics because it's a magic trick and it's not real, Pharrell, haven't you had a music festival in Virginia Beach? You, Pharrell, cannot hold a music festival unless you got permits, unless you follow city law. There are city requirements to how many bathrooms you have, how many EMT and law enforcement personnel, crowd control. We can go on and on and on. Pharrell, who do you think sets those rules? That's politics. That's people who work for the city or the county. That's actually politics. So what the hell are you talking about at your 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day in Miami? And then you make this ridiculous comment about, well, what are we going to do? You didn't get the job because you're black. What are you talking about? We've long said we were the best in applying for a job. But Pharrell, this bullshit about merit, that's that MAGA nonsense. We know damn well black folks have been highly qualified for decades, for centuries, and were overlooked by people. Pharrell, in the history of the United States, there have only been 3 black Supreme Court justices. Do you think in the history of the United States only 3 black people were qualified? No. What the hell are you talking about? See, that's that silly shit that I can't stand people say. Well, you know, it's about, no, we're the best. Yeah, hell, we know that. For real, here's a fact. An average black college graduate makes more than the average white high school graduate. Explain that to me, Pharrell. Pharrell, explain to me why the Biden-Harris administration, it's called politics, had to put in rules and procedures to keep racism out of home appraisals. Some 47 million home appraisals were studied, and they show without a doubt how black people and people of color had their homes valued at less than white people. Black people had to take down their art, their books, their family photos because white appraisers were lowering the value of the homes. Matter of fact, if I could sit here and go cost to blacks in home appraisals, it is in excess of $150 billion. $150 billion that black people are being cheated out of wealth because of racist home appraisals. It was politics, Pharrell, that actually changed that. Pharrell, it has been politics that has changed any number of public policy issues. So what the hell are you talking about? If you are an entertainer and you have a platform and you are given a mic, my God, can you please read, watch, listen, talk to somebody before you say some dumb shit on the microphone? Because the fact of the matter is this, Pharrell. The internal politics of the business that you are in actually changed because of politics. So whether it's fashion, music, or whatever you care about, politics, and black folks and others fighting made it possible for you to sit. Can y'all tell me what was the location of the 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day? Then I'm going to go to my panel. Can y'all find it out? No. I want the city. Where in Miami? No, I don't want the city. I want where it took place in Miami. Give me 1 second. Black Ambition Demo Day. The panel, get ready. I'm going to you. The 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day took place at the Sacred Space, Miami, on Friday night. His was hilarious. Pharrell was given a key to the Miami-Dade County at his Black Ambition Day. Pharrell, that's politics. Like, literally, politics voted to hand you a key to the county. How do you accept a key to to Miami-Dade County at your Black Ambition demo day, but you say I hate politics and it's a magic trick and it's not real. So why did you accept the key? Do you see the oxymoron here, Pharrell? Do you not see how this is, what you said is irrational? Pharrell, do you understand that the city of Miami was one of the most racist cities in the country? And it was the hard work of activists and others to break down racism there, also using politics to do so, to open the doors. Pharrell, do you know that politics created the civil rights laws that shut down Jim Crow? So what the hell are you talking about? You go to my panel. Let's see. I think Avis is ready to tee off.
You use the term oxymoron. I'm just going to stick with moron. I mean, that is the most moronic statement I have heard in a long time. And I am so tired of people who have huge platforms, who use that platform in ways that undermine the ability of Black people to meet success. He is in essence saying, if he's sitting here saying politics is a magic trick, I don't believe in it, I don't take either, he's in essence saying he probably doesn't vote. He's in essence suggesting that people either shouldn't vote, or he continues to push forward this argument, which is complete BS, that both sides are the same. You would have to be on crack to witness what we have witnessed this year, to sit yourself there and say, there is no difference here. I mean, is he so elite and so above it all that he just doesn't see what's happening to regular people? Or is he just a Trump supporter that is trying not to say it openly, but in actuality is liking what Trump is doing for his tax bill, and therefore he's not going to say anything that would undermine that quote unquote success? You know, if you don't know about something, then here's the revolutionary thought. Don't say shit about it. That's the better option than to sit there and spout ridiculousness with a platform that can touch millions with a message that undermines and insults us with regards to his specific stance on DEI. And if he wants to say that he's, you know, you have to say the best, I would have to wonder, why was he the best choice to be the male lead of Louis Vuitton? What qualifications gave him that? Or did he happen to just benefit from a moment in which you had a lot of major companies that wanted to increase their Black representation? How did that happen, Pharrell? I mean, the whole thing just speaks of ignorance on the one hand, privilege on the other, and complete toxicity on the third, if there is a third one.
On the Congo, what's interesting is that as a part of this Black Ambition, this prize they give out, 4 of them were HBCU pre-accelerators. Pharrell, public HBCUs are funded by state legislatures. That's politics. On Congo, this is what I'm saying. This is what, it's just crazy when people say stuff. Go ahead.
It's extremely frustrating, and I just keep thinking about how much black celebrities in particular, a lot of celebrities, but Black celebrities in particular, are just letting us down in this moment. Like, they're not rising to the occasion. Whether we're talking about this, whether we're talking about folks like Kanye, we're not seeing people speak up about, these ICE raids or challenging Trump. Some of these guys in the NBA spoke up in Trump's first administration. Now they're quiet. Like, everybody's either just silent, or they're spewing out ignorance like this. And it's just frustrating to see so many of our entertainers do this. For Pharrell, and the other problem that I have is that he's making it seem like we only got ahead because there was some type of affirmative action which benefited white women more than anybody else, or some type of DEIs. He's like, oh yeah, when that comes back in, that's cool, but we're going to focus on being the best. We were taught in our community that we had to be twice as better as white people, in many cases, unfortunately, to get half as much. So the level of detachment, the level of ignorance, the level of I've just made it, we're seeing by so many in our community who are not meeting this moment. And as Charles Blow said on Instagram earlier today, he's like, if you're talking about I'm just indifferent, you are supporting the opposition. You are supporting the oppression. And even when Taylor Swift and them came out and endorsed Kamala, Pharrell had some things to say about celebrities getting out there and talking about politics and endorsements. I mean, at the very least, can you tell people to get out there and vote and make their own decision, just like you said? But some of these guys out there, kind of going off what Ava said as well, I feel like they're intentionally trying to sway people away from being involved in this political process. And they have to be called out, because as the great Clay Kane says, if you don't do politics, politics is going to do you. And politics is doing us on so many levels right now. And too many of our celebrities, our athletes, and the guys out there are abandoning us in this moment that we need them.
Mateo, I am right now looking at something on there's a website called AtlanticParkVB.com. And I'm looking at it. It is this massive, let me see this. I'm just reading this here. So it's laying out surf parks, things along those lines, the technology, this dome, all these different spaces, shopping and everything like that. I'm looking here because this is this massive development in Virginia Beach that Pharrell envisioned. And I'm trying to see right now if this was done in any partnership with city, county, or state. Because if it was, that's politics. And Mateo, here's the other thing. Black businesses have been able, it is without a doubt that more black businesses have been able to get city, county, state, federal contracts than they have corporate America. That's politics. I wish these people understand how all of these things are connected. You cannot escape. Pharrell is a big-time environmentalist, if I'm correct. Politics is involved in that. Mateo, go ahead.
So I think Avis and Amakongo said it perfectly. I don't have a whole lot to add. I'm going to say I heard him speak, and I have witnessed a level of delusion that reminded me a little bit of Marie Antoinette when she said, "Let them eat cake." I don't think he knows really what's going on. But I heard two things that really stuck out to me. Number one, this idea that politics equals division, and so you need to sit this one out because you don't want to be divisive. Let's even say that that's true. And I will say politics today is very divisive. Today is not any time in our country's history. Today is Berlin 1934. You have to sit on one side, and history will judge you by what you were able to do for your brothers and sisters based on what side you sat on. So that's number one. Number two about that is the message of politics is division, so you need to sit this one out, is a hideous message. It's a message that says your opinion doesn't matter. You're going to let other people make decisions for you. And I think enough people in our country have suffered the consequences of old white men making decisions for them. And so for Pharrell to make a statement like that is not just sad, it's counterproductive. And that's number one. Number two, the idea of we need to be the best. You need to buy because a black-owned business is the best. We all know that. That is clear that you're going to go choose the best of whatever you need to buy. But the reality is that in order for a black-owned business to exist, that black-owned business still needs to deal with banks, still needs to deal with government contracts, still needs to deal with authorizations, still needs to deal with real estate. And those are places where equity is immensely important, because those are the places where discrimination happened, continues to happen. And if we don't do something about it, if we don't tell people, do not stand on the sideline, do something about it, go out and vote about it, then we're going to find ourselves in 1950 all over again. And for somebody who is getting ready to go out and vote for the first time and to hear that message, that is just hideous and counterproductive. It has no space in modern society.
Point. And let me be real clear. Again, we covered this story. We covered extensively the shooting, the investigation. We noted that it was Pharrell's cousin. But if Pharrell sees this, you know, I last saw Pharrell at the TV One Urban Honors. No, it was Essence. It was Essence. No, well, maybe it was Essence or at the Urban one. Remember when he saw me, called me an OG? And I appreciate that. I appreciate folks who understand what I do on the news side. So Pharrell sees this. What I'm about to explain to Pharrell why politics matters. Go to my iPad. Pharrell Williams calls for investigation after cousin shot dead by police. This is a BBC story. This is a BBC story talking about the shooting of his cousin. Now, when you go into this story, it said a criminal investigation was ongoing. This is what the story says. But Pharrell says there are too many unanswered city and state questions, so is calling for an investigation at a higher federal level. This one is symbolic and a first because I had to speak at my cousin's funeral and was choked up with emotions, Pharrell said on social media, alongside a shot of the funeral program. And it goes on. Pharrell has previously called for transparency, honesty, and justice from authorities. He talked about how the officers involved in the shooting of his cousin weren't wearing their body cameras. But it was the folks who actually, through politics, fought for the city to spend $5.5 million on body cameras. So, Pharrell, let me explain to you why politics, who you vote for, matters. This is from 2022 when you call for this investigation. So you call for a federal investigation. Pharrell, in 2022, your cousin was shot in 2021. In 2022, Pharrell, who was president? Biden. Who headed the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice? Kristen Clark. Guess what? There were more federal investigations of police action since Robert F. Kennedy was Attorney General. Now, Marilyn Garland was trash, but Kristen Clark did her job. Guess what, Pharrell? Donald Trump ain't investigating cops. If your cousin was killed right now, there would be no federal investigation. Donald Trump has made it clear, I want to give cops 100% immunity. Pharrell, that's politics. That's politics. Who is in the Oval Office determines the focus of the Department of Justice. So when you say, I hate politics, it's a magic trick, not real. What you don't understand is you are telling people politics doesn't matter, but when your cousin gets shot, you then want politics to intervene because your family was hurt. For real, that's politics. So who we vote for president has a direct correlation to whether or not we have a Department of Justice federally that will allow cops to operate with impunity, or they will hold them accountable. So, Pharrell, you personally wanted a federal investigation for your cousin. But if somebody right now, black, experienced what you and your family experienced, Pharrell, I'm telling you right now, there will be no support from Trump's DOJ. And do you know why, Pharrell? Because a lot of people said, quote, I hate politics. Because a lot of people, Pharrell, said it's a magic trick. Because a lot of people, 90 million Americans, did not vote for Pharrell because they said it's not real. Pharrell, politics becomes real when it becomes personal. And it became personal for you and your family when your cousin, Donovan Lynch, was shot and killed. And so I would hope you watch this segment. And Pharrell, it's a bunch of people in the same circles. You are more than willing to call me, email me, and I'll chop it up with you. But brother, don't ever call it a magic trick and not real. Because right now, there are people who look like me and you. There are people who buy your music, who go to your festivals, who support your products. Some folks who might buy Louis, who might support other stuff that you do. Those people, their lives are being impacted by politics. The folk who might lose health care, that's politics. The folk who are seeing SNAP benefits cut, Pharrell, that's politics. The federal workers from your home state of Virginia that are out of jobs, that's politics, Pharrell. Pharrell, when they look to build a highway in Virginia, that's politics. That's federal highway funds. Pharrell, when they looking to build a park in Virginia, that's politics, Pharrell. Pharrell, when they voted on the casino in Petersburg and in Richmond, that's politics, bruh. There is nothing in our life that politics plays no role in. So, brother, I'm going to need you to get way more educated. I'm going to need you to get more understanding. And I know you can't stand celebrity endorsements. I ain't asking you to endorse anybody. I'm not asking you to go campaign for anybody. I'm not asking you to contribute to anybody. What I am asking you is to understand that when you hold a microphone to your mouth, what comes in your head, out of your mouth into that microphone can literally impact people for good or for bad. And if people decide not to vote and not to challenge the city council, the school board, and the county commissioners, and the state representatives, and the federal government, if they choose not to do that because they heard Pharrell say he hates politics, it's a magic trick, it's not real, then that's on you. You should be better informed on these issues. Folks, a lot we didn't get to. I appreciate Mateo being on the show today. I appreciate Avis Omekongo as well. The other stories, we'll pick them on tomorrow. So, the panel, thank you so very much for being with us. Folks, this is why this show matters. See, NBC, CBS, Fox News, all these people, they are not going to have this conversation. They are not going to deal with this. They're not going to break it down like we did. But I'm telling all of y'all right now, all of our lives are being grossly impacted by politics. It's impacting everything that we do, and we have got to have platforms that are speaking to our issues that center us every day, and that's what we do right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Your support is critical to what we do. You want to support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code you see right in the bottom left-hand corner. You can also support us with credit cards, use the same thing. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks in money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Our goal is to raise $1 million by December 31st, and we really appreciate your support. Folks, download the Black Star Network app. We should be over 200,000 downloads. Keenan, let me know where we are. Let's get to 250,300. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available on bookstores nationwide. Tomorrow, I'm going to deal with the white supremacist, anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, and how the Republican Party is embracing him because that's their supporters. And I break that stuff down in my book, White Fear. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Also, folks, get our Black Star Network swag. Go to shop.blackstarnetwork.com. Our T-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, all that good stuff. All these products you see to my left right here, these are all black-owned products you can see on shop.blackstarnetwork.com. We've got, of course, sauces, creams, relishes, facial stuff, crossword puzzles, backpacks, HBCU shirts, car cleaning solutions, gym bands and hats, all that good stuff. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Be sure to support Fanbase. Download the app. You can also invest. We've raised $13.6 million. The goal is $17 million. So if you want to invest, go to starengine.com/fanbase. And let me shout out the country of Bermuda. I was there last week for the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. I'm rocking the cream shirt there as well. Had a great time with Premier Bert and the Bermuda Tourism Authority. We featured, of course, a lot of the interviews on the show. We'll have those on social as well. And I had a great time there, and it was great to celebrate my birthday on Friday with the Alphas of Bermuda. And so when the show was over, we met in the hotel, and so it was great to chop it up with the brothers of A5A. And so it was great to see them, and I appreciate them, of course, meeting me there. And so they sent the word out that I was in town, and they said, "Brother, can we get together?" And I said, "Sure, let's do it." And so we were able to get together. And so this, of course, was us there celebrating my birthday as well. So I appreciate the brothers of A5A from Bermuda. That's how we roll. First of all, service of all, we shall transcend all. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Shout out to Roxy Diaz. Today is her birthday. Roxy, happy birthday. Holla!